Hello, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Does Your Online Experience Match Your In-Store Experience? My name is Caprice Crawford, and I am the Education Manager here at the Home Furnishings Association, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. Now, before we get started, I would like to go over the basics for today's session. This webinar will be recorded and all attendees will receive a follow-up email by this time tomorrow on how to access the recording. Now, as you heard when you joined, you are in listen-only mode. This means that all attendees except me and our speakers are muted. Now, although we can't hear you, we do encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation using the chat box you see on the webinar control panel. This control panel usually pops up on the right-hand side of your screen when you joined. Now, only organizers can see your questions, so I will be monitoring them as the webinar progresses, and our speaker will address all questions at the end of the presentation. Now, it is our pleasure to have Rich Seifert, a senior consultant at Fit for Commerce. Rich, are you ready to get started?
Absolutely. Thanks, Caprice. So, hello, I'm excited to be here with you today and talk about customer expectations around omnichannel customer experience. Really getting your experiences to line up online, in store, and across touchpoints. Before jumping in, just a bit about who we are. Fit for Commerce is a boutique consultancy for everything e-commerce, digital, and omnichannel. We're really focused on helping businesses accelerate their growth through digital. We seek to be trusted advisors and are to hundreds of companies around the globe, both retailers and brands, established and emerging. And one of the things that really differentiates our team is that team members have all been senior leaders within brands and retailers and bring that experience to providing both strategic and hands-on guidance for everything that you need to grow your business. Our approach, which we call digital diligence, is based on gaining a deep understanding of each client's business across functional areas so that we can ensure success of both decision-making and execution. And on an annual basis, we partner with the NRF to track and benchmark what top omnichannel retailers are doing across a broad range of criteria, and that allows us to provide insights into who is doing it best across a range of verticals and tracking what factors that even just last year may have been emerging, but now are virtually table stakes, and we're definitely going to touch on that some more as we go along. Here's a glimpse of some of our customers and some of our clients, and you can see a good number of them are in the home space itself. Fit for Commerce has been around for 12 years and counting, and here's some of the things we're particularly proud of. With amongst all of those clients, over 113 of them are in the IR 1000. As mentioned before, we have clients across the globe serving 18 different countries. We've been involved in the selection of over 450 technology selections, and we do a lot of publishing around thought leadership and including white papers, best practices that you can find on our website. Okay, so one question, a quick poll before we get started, and it's about where you see your focus being in omnichannel this year. Are you focused on fundamentals, making sure that first and foremost, executing well in the e-commerce and the retail channel and maybe starting to take steps to bring those together? Are you focused on operations, really enabling omni-channel visibility so you can tell what product is available in each channel, what products are in store, are they in inventory, and making sure that you're using all the channels together to successfully fulfill to customers, no matter where they're shopping, or third, data, leveraging what you know about customers to really personalize and create experience for them across channels, or for all of the above.
All right, we're going to give just a couple more seconds. Not everybody has voted yet. If you can vote right now, that would be great. All right. And I'm going to close that poll and let's take a
All
look.
right. What do we see?
Hmm.
Uh, Great. Well, this is an easy one to read out. 100% of the respondents focused working on all of the above, and I think that points really clearly to um, one of the key aspects of omnichannel. There's a lot to manage, and in a lot of cases, it doesn't feel a lot like an either or. It needs to be an all of the above. So, and I think it also points to the fact that you know, there's a greater awareness that the customer path to purchase has become so much more complex. People aren't touching just one point at a store or online, but they're really interacting with you in so many different places. And so that customer journey that used to feel somewhat linear really now feels almost more, almost looks more like a Jackson Pollock painting. So let's take a look at some of the numbers that are driving behavior and take a look at first, what's happening with e-commerce growth. It's continuing to expand rapidly. We're expecting it to be over $4 trillion in sales in 2020, about 15% of total retail. At that point, home furnishings is a large category. It's the third largest category that we look at, approaching $65 billion in 2019. And while home furnishings may not have been the most aggressive initially at pushing into e-commerce, it has become a really huge category online, and we see that pace of growth continuing, growing at over 15% in 2019, and it represented about 22%, just under 22% of sales. That growth is expected to continue, and you can see that within 5 years, out by 2024, that 64 billion will have almost doubled and be up to 126 billion, and we're going to maintain solid double-digit growth through that period. So the good news is customers across age groups and across genders are buying home goods online. If you can see the box that's highlighted here, you've got representation from both genders, across ages, actually a high concentration in younger consumers as well in the age group, with 29% saying they've purchased home furniture or appliances online. And it's just under 1 in 5 say they've shopped for and purchased for home online. So that represents lots of upside. With all the volume that's being done, still a lot of upside to grow that penetration. So today's retail landscape. We know that customer expectations are at an all-time high, and they expect to be able to shop from us anytime, anywhere, and anyway, whether that's from their phone as they're headed around town, whether it's on their laptop in the evening, or whether they stop in the store. And we know they're also finding us through social media and our Instagram feeds. So, and we know this because frankly, this is exactly what most of us are doing ourselves. So, customers expect what is absolutely a seamless and convenient experience. They don't think in channels. We don't think in channels. They think about, what they want or need, then their brand, and then they're going to go and buy it however works for them in that moment. And of course, if you don't meet expectations, customers are only a click away. The online innovators are eating market share and are changing expectations. Certainly Amazon, huge impact on expectations around delivery and so many other aspects of the experience. Wayfair and home furnishings also testing new delivery models, one of the first to go towards free shipping. So things are getting stirred up there. And again, one of the big advantages that we have as omnichannel retailers is using all the channels together to create great experiences. And they really need to meet and exceed across the board. So take a look in a little bit more detail at what this customer journey looks like. Um, let's say customer may see one of your couches in Instagram, and that links and takes them to your website where they can dig and do some more details and learn more. They may have some thoughts and questions or want to poke around more and jump over and take a look at what options are available on your competitor's website. But then they decide that you've got what they're looking for and they're moving further down the funnel, and they start looking for the color that would fit best with their the decor that's within their home now. As they take a look at swatches, look at all the different options, they still decide, hey, to really understand this, they'd like to go into a store. So they go into the store, and when the store doesn't have the exact color, they turn around and call customer service to make a purchase. And so you can see, and this is a very standard, this is what's become a very common type of customer journey where there are 6 or more touch points, some of which you control immediately within your site and within your experience. Some of them happen totally outside of that stream. So when we talk about omni-channel, rather than thinking about it in terms of channels, we like to turn that around, and it really becomes about the customer. And that's what we mean by customer centricity. Omnichannel really is a way of leveraging all of your channels to serve the customer the way that they want to be served. And it starts with knowing the customer and their journey and really having a 360-degree view of how they interact with your brand. Then using that knowledge, you can engage the customer in an informed way, in a more personal way that helps make a connection. And as you do that and you get that engagement and you close, then the expectation is that you'll deliver flawlessly. And that follow through has to be there. A great experience can easily be forgotten if the product is not delivered flawlessly. So omnichannel really drives personalization. We see these two things incredibly linked. It starts with the right strategy and an organizational commitment to really putting the customer at the center. And that's a big deal for organizations that are used to thinking in terms of silos, in terms of channels, what's being built out different ways. It's really turning all of the focus on the customer, what they're looking for, and having that deep understanding of what a customer, what the life cycle with your brand is all about. For those who are doing it well, the interaction feels less transactional and more about a connection. It's one reason why so many retailers in home look to have more of a consultative relationship with customers. Customers, a lot of times, are looking for help. They're looking for guidance. They want to have confidence in the decision that they're making about their home. And so almost built in, there's an opportunity to have to make a connection and have more of a consultative interaction with your customers. Now, this is not necessarily easy to do at all, particularly when you get to scale. How do you know enough about your customers to be able to execute? And it's really achieved by leveraging technologies that can help organize, analyze, automate, integrate all of those important buckets of information, so that you can deliver any of that information to your customer at the right point in their journey. And here's another way of thinking about and planning for and to execute omnichannel flawlessly. Again, tying back to personalization, these are really some of the key areas that you need to think about. And like we talked about up front, and as everyone voted, it touches absolutely all of these areas. So when we look at questions of brand and marketing, is your brand creating a consistent impression across the board? Are your products assortments lined up? Are your promotions lined up? And are you using analytics from all of your channels to help make sure that you're showing customers the right product at the right time? From a customer experience perspective, again, Is your merchandising coherent? Do you have the right content available in each place? Are you providing additional content based on the capabilities of the channel? So in store, that consultative capability. Online, perhaps it's more product details, more aspects of the features of the product, as well as being supported perhaps with video and other things that can help customers understand, how to use the product. And it is also an opportunity to provide enriched content that's how to. Customers are, again, looking for confidence. A lot of times they're also looking to understand how to do something, and that's a great place to deliver that. And then from an operations perspective, are your systems supporting showing customers what inventory you have, what stores it's in, and is the customer data then something that can be used and leveraged no matter where the touch point is, whether they call up on the phone, whether they go in store, as you go to create each of your marketing campaigns, can you make each of those smarter and more capable? So that's why we say personalization is the new omnichannel. It's about relevance, knowing her context, where she is in the journey, knowing her preferences and serving things up accordingly, what matters to her, what are her interests, and then using all of that to make things really easy. Customers want to have as little friction through the path as possible. They don't want to be made to think. They want, and they expect things to be put in front of them. So again, taking a look, that is a lot to do. And that's what a lot of it boils down to. Omnichannel leaders must excel across all channels and across all touch points. If they're looking to really hit all of those metrics that as business leaders we are, whether that's increasing sales, decreasing markdowns, moving through stale inventory, reducing freight costs. All of these touch points come into play in the thinking of omnichannel customers and omnichannel leaders. Some other things that we know about omnichannel shoppers, they are undoubtedly more valuable. They have been shown to have a 30% higher lifetime value than those who shop with us using only one channel. And we see businesses that have omnichannel strategies achieve greater retention rates, significantly greater retention rates compared to businesses without. And we also find that customers who are engaging this way, customers who are using more devices, are finding that valuable. With 71% of shoppers who are using mobile devices to research in store, they say that it becomes an important part of the experience. So again, what was new at one point in time very quickly becomes table stakes and becomes integrated into customers' behavior. So what are some of the things that are holding retailers and brands back? We all know the benefits of omnichannel, so why aren't more retailers pursuing it in a big way? Part of it is it's not easy. There are a lot of different places where there can be roadblocks, and here are some of the challenges that we hear consistently from our clients. Legacy systems, it's not always easy to get all the systems to talk together to make that customer information, to make that inventory information available across touch points. Along with it not being easy, it's not necessarily inexpensive. And so prioritizing omnichannel initiatives within the broader range that organizations are looking like, they can find that you end up with not enough budget to do that. Defining next steps, knowing where you're going for sure and what the next priorities are, that's a challenge. And there can be cultural resistance as well internally. In the same way that when e-commerce was first coming into its own, there was a lot of concern about channel conflict, where sales were going between the channels. Now, because this requires so many big changes, there can be cultural resistance to putting omnichannel initiatives into place. It calls for new skill sets, new capabilities, and in some cases, new roles. Executive direction, executive support, always critical in making things happen. And we touched on that silo information right up front. So we got another poll for you, and this will be interesting to see based on the upfront results on what people are working on, the or what they're considering for 2020s. But where do you really see your organization now in terms of omni-channel retail? Is your approach an ostrich? Would you say overall in denial? Is your organization the turtle, slow but steady? Perhaps the monkey, which is imitative though clever. Roadrunner, which is quick, in some cases, maybe moving too quick and going back and needing to make adjustments, or the owl, which is wise and thoughtful and making very planned decisions.
Now, if you could vote now, we'll keep this open for a couple more seconds.
Thanks, Caprice.
All right. And we're going to close the poll.
Okay. So very interesting. Well, everyone is thinking about and working on all of the key areas or across omnichannel. You can see where in a lot of cases getting to the pace that we like to is challenging. And a lot of us are at different places on the journey. And I think anyone who started down the journey knows that it's really one with no endpoint. So customer expectations will continue to evolve. And so these initiatives, these efforts will be absolutely ongoing, no matter where you find yourself, on that spectrum at this point in time. So in terms of some of the things that we're seeing as best practices, I want to go a little bit more into the Omnichannel Retail Index that we touched on right up front. This is a benchmarking that we do in partnership with NRF, and we go out and look at 125 leading brands and retailers across a range of verticals, about 20 different verticals. You can see we've got some the leaders called out within home, the brands and retailers that are part of the index here. And we go through and look at over, it says 200, or it's actually over 300 different variables around omnichannel best practices. So we can then create a benchmark of what leaders in the space are doing. And we can take a look at how others are measuring up, and also have that measure of, what was leading edge that's now table stakes, and what is it really critical that people are doing. So, while retailers do understand that omnichannel investments are key to growing their business, work remains to be done, and the index kind of helps address some of that question around priorities. It can give you a sense of what others are going after, as well as where there's room for improvement. And while retailers as a whole, when we look across the board, are making significant efforts to optimize their in-store and online omnichannel capabilities, there's still definitely room for improvement. So some of the cross-channel best practices that we consider and call out, and a lot of this is about some of these operational questions. Can you filter by store availability? Is it easy to determine if the products that you want are available in store? Can you buy online and pick up in store? Can you buy online and return to store? And interestingly, home retailers are actually ahead of the curve in a number of these areas. 89% are currently offering buy online and return to store, which is ahead of 82% of all verticals. And again, of those best practice home retailers that are in the index, the 56% of them are offering buy online, pick up in store. So that also is running ahead of all verticals, which is interesting because home furnishings are in some cases offering a lot of products that aren't necessarily easy to pick up in store, but within the assortment, in a lot of cases, there are items that can be. And customers like that for the convenience side. They like it for not having to pay shipping, and so that's being adopted quickly. Another one that we look at is when customers go in store, can they make a purchase in store and ship it anywhere? 100% of the home retailers in the index offer that capability versus 73% of all verticals. Again, a lot of home furnishing purchases are ones that make sense to have shipped to home. So, I think this is a very logical capability for retailers to have implemented. So, and with the breadth of assortments, and as people build out and expand assortments on the web, it gets hard to make all of those products available for sale in store. But the vast majority of retailers in the home space are providing in-store product availability. So this is the measure of whether it can be picked up in store. And in this case, we're looking right at the product detail page, and this would be for the products that can be picked up in store. And another similar metric or similar measure, but going, if anything, a little bit the opposite way, is those expanded assortments or meeting the needs of customers who are maybe shopping for something that either isn't available in the store at that moment because it's not in stock, or it's not offered in any of the stores, but it is offered online. And so this type of endless aisle, we see 90% of our home retailers offering the ability for sales associates to look up, find items either from another store or from the web and place a purchase if they don't have it available in store. So again, using initiatives that allow the associates to satisfy customers no matter how, when, or where they're choosing to interact. Home retailers also understand that customers' insights and opinions matter to other customers. They allow on most of the product results page, products listing pages or search, they allow people to filter based on ratings and reviews, and at a really high rate, about 60% versus 31% when we look across verticals. And they also are allowing customers to upload their own content, whether that's photos on product detail pages. That's about 70% in home versus 44% in all retailers. So leveraging Instagram photos, leveraging customers directly uploading photos onto the site to show people how they're using it. It's another version of providing inspiration, and it gives people, other customers, a sense of the scale of the product and how it might merge in with their home. And then home retailers also over-index on allowing questions and answers on the product detail pages. So customers being able to come in, if they've got a question that's not answered on the product detail page, they can go ahead and ask it. A lot of times they'll find someone else did get the answer. And again, this is happening at 50% versus 34% for all retailers. So with all of the places that home retailers are standing out, there are a number of other places where there are still some missed opportunities, places where the experience could really be elevated further. So we looked at the product detail page where a lot of retailers, home retailers, are allowing customers to figure out whether a product's available in store. A higher level version of that capability where customers can really refine the product listings up at a search result, or whether as they're browsing through the categories, that only about 20% in home are doing that versus 31% in all retailers. And then live chat, home retailers are using that at roughly about half of what the retailers across the index are doing, which is interesting when you think about how consultative sales in home can be. This is an opportunity to have another type of engagement with customers directly in the moment. Some customers, of course, will choose to pick up the phone, but increasingly we've seen, including in home, that customers are choosing to interact through live chat. Gives lots of capabilities as well to share products. A lot of times through live chat capability, products can be pushed to customers. So if they're looking for alternate solutions, alternate ideas, and it allows people to stay in that browsing experience to simply live chat. So something that could be taken advantage of further there. Free shipping is offered less frequently, particularly at the whole order level in this space. Only about 30% of um, home retailers regularly have free shipping policies in place versus about 69% when we look across verticals. Lots of reasons for that. Furniture, of course, is much larger goods, much more expensive to ship. I think we see home furnishings retailers taking other innovative approaches here where they, rather than maybe going to free shipping, offering flat rate shipping, per delivery shipping, so that they still keep it as a reasonable fee, but are looking to at least partially cover shipping costs. It's a lot harder vertical to go all the way to complete free shipping. Another area where we see opportunity, and again, this is one that's actually not so different than other verticals, is putting more messaging about promotions and how close customers are to being able to take advantage of them right on the product detail page. So if there is a free shipping promotion, or if there's a discount by category, as customers add product to their cart, giving the reminders as they look on other product detail pages about how close they are to being able to get that promotion. Another another place where home is slightly lagging other verticals is delivery date being provided in checkout. I know this is particularly for furniture and something that's highly valued by customers, and certainly providing an ability to plan a delivery, have a delivery window up front is very comforting to the customer, allows them to sort of plan for that delivery right up front. Still, at this point, a lot of retailers are following up with an additional contact on when the delivery will be coming. It's not a huge difference here between furniture and other verticals, but it is something that we've seen the customers value. And then here, communication versus text, that's a place where we see customer interest, and that's being leveraged in home as well. So wrapping up, a few things. Omnichannel shoppers, we see them continuing to prove to be incredibly valuable. Getting to that optimal omnichannel experience involves overcoming all sorts of different roadblocks internally. And there are numerous challenges. A key part of this is really implementing, defining and implementing the right omnichannel strategy up front, and really getting buy-in from the organization, from executive leaders and sponsorship to help make those strategies a success. We know that we looked and saw across the whole range of areas that home actually performs above the average for many omnichannel criteria. Clearly, there's still some opportunities that exist, and no matter where we are on this arc, customer expectations continue to change day in, day out, year in, year out, and will require constant diligence and innovation to meet those evolving expectations. So overall, don't be the ostrich. And I think understanding the value that omnichannel customers offer to us as retailers, really working to figure out what are the right priorities, what are the right solutions, and keep things moving forward will remain a key priority for all of us.
Great. Well, thank you, Rich. Well, let's start our Q&A portion. I would like to encourage all attendees to submit any questions now and throughout our Q&A portion, and we will get to as many of them as we can. We did have some questions come in throughout the presentation. So, Rich, are you ready for the first question?
Sure.
All right. So, where do you think retailers in the retail index will be focusing or should be focusing their efforts in their omni-channel this year?
You know, we hear from our customers, our clients, and when we look at what's happening within the omni-channel space and those leaders that are within ORI in particular, in a lot of cases, as we went through there, you saw they've got some of the operational things tackled. They're doing a really good job of exposing inventory across the channels. They're allowing for some of the logistics of buy online, pickups in store, enabling easier experiences for customers that way, and making sure that customers can buy whatever product they as a brand offer, no matter what touch point they're interacting with. So that was a big phase for a lot of people. And if anything, I think we see more and more interest in data and really looking at new ways to leverage customer data to continue to personalize that experience and to be making that happen across the channels. Which is challenging, and a lot of those same obstacles that we talked about earlier in terms of data silos, perhaps processes that are in place that have not yet accounted for how to get that data out and available, are some of the limitations that people are running into, as well as, frankly, finding what's the right tool and the right method to have that data available, particularly in the stores, and to be used in a way that's also comfortable for the customer, and how they're being recognized, and how then they're getting more personalized recommendations based on that.
Right. Um, Now another question is we are a very small store. Who should be involved with the owning and mapping of the customer journey within our organization?
Well, I think a lot of times there's a conversation about who owns the customer journey and who's looking at that first and foremost, and that can land in different places. A lot of times, the marketing will take a lead on that. But I think you're asking the absolutely the right question. It's a great question because it's not just maybe who leads that, who should be involved. It's real because of all of the different touch points as you're doing the customer journey mapping. I think it's important to have folks from across those touch points involved. Some of them will be in marketing, some of them will be in e-commerce, customer service, the stores. So not only knowing what touch points happen, but understanding what some of those touch points look like, what's important to the customer at each of those touch points, what are they looking for that's not being provided now, what could be differentiating, are really helpful ways to think about the journey. Because again, more and more those touch points don't live as points, they live as part of a broader experience, and what is important to them through the different touch points in some cases will be unique, but in a lot of cases will also provide valuable insights about how something could be done differently in at one of the other touch points. So a really good cross-functional team of people who are responsible for those touch points is a great place to start.
Great. Um, Now, what is the most effective way to track the customer journey today? And I think this question came from website to store. How do we track that those touch points that maybe that we're that they're getting from us online is coming into the store? How do we track that journey?
That is a great question. Absolutely. And I think it's one that lots of people are working on in a number of different ways. And it's not one that's always easy to crack. So, there are some types of attribution that people can look at and understand from a marketing perspective, and look to understand things that way. But really, part of the question here is looking at what are the contact points that you want to be able to track. So if someone's visiting the site, what is their interaction there? Are there tools that they're using that then are also being used in store, so you can see that arc happens in home furnishings? That might be something like configuring a product or planning a room, and that tool then gets leveraged in store, and you can see what that arc is. Our customers coming in with um, emails or other marketing or promotions that they've seen on the site and looking to use some of those in store. Um, those are some of the ways. Other retailers, you can also do some recognition through beacons. If you customers have their phone set up, if they've got, that works particularly in the cases of apps, and there can be some matching there to understand what customers' behavior is kind of going across channels. So it's a great question. It's one that is not completely solved, but it is, I think, it is and will remain a priority for retailers, and not just in home furnishings.
Right. One last question we had is when you were talking about the online sales early on in your presentation, do you have any kind of projections for brick and mortar sales in comparison to the online sales for home furnishings?
That is a great question, and at my fingertips, no, I don't at the moment. The most of the growth that's been coming in home furnishings, or a large portion of it, has been driven by e-commerce, where we see stores being uh, with we see stores performing more at or around flat. So but in terms of a specific projection on stores, I don't have one right at hand.
Okay. Well, that looks like all the questions that we have today. I do want to thank everyone that attended today. And Rich, thank you so much for your knowledge. And the Omnichannel Retail Index was great insight for us today. I do want everyone to mark their calendars for our next webinar, which will be Wednesday, February 5th, and that is titled Making the Final Mile Your Competitive Advantage. To read the description and register for this webinar, you can visit our website at myhfa.org. Just click on the Resources tab and click on the Education tab. We have changed that. Again, this entire webinar, including the question and answer portion, has been recorded and will be available to watch on demand by this time tomorrow. Everyone that registered will receive an email from the Home Furnishings Association that tells you how to access the recording. And if you do have any questions for the association or our speaker, you can reach us at 1-800-422-3778 or always through our website at myhfa.org. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.